So I don't know how much you guys are going to get out of this video because it's hard to see these ESCs. They're far away from my camera. So here we want to show how to suck the solder out of the holes where the large wires go for the motor, the A, B, and C wires. A being red, B being blue, C being black. And this part of the ESC has the black wire from the DC control for the ESC, DC from the main board, and there on this wire goes the red plus DC wire. This connector here is for the ESC control, the three wire coiled wire that comes off the CPU board. You see a little CPU here on the ESC, which is pretty cool. I think these are MOSFETs here that control the current to the three-phase. Not sure what this little guy is. It looks like a capacitor, 220 at 16 volt. That's a capacitor. Looks like that's a little clock chip there. Looks like a crystal clock chip. There's some capacitors you can see in there, small little capacitors. Here's a, looks like a chip capacitor. This thing blew up on my other board. I'm not sure if these MOSFETs are in parallel. It looks like they probably are. So you got a MOSFET here and a MOSFET here. They're probably paralleled to give it more current, I would guess. But, you know, there's no schematic for these, so who knows how they work. And they're probably patented by Yuneec. I didn't see where these were generic from somewhere else. So the trick about desoldering is your soldering iron has to be up at temperature, which this one is. This is a controlled temperature soldering iron, which has a magnet in here, and when this thing heats up, the magnet expands, and it makes the heating current go off, and then when it cools down, the heating current goes back on. So this thing will be at a pretty constant temperature. Not sure what that is anymore. This iron's from 1982 or 3 or 1980 actually. So here, let's use some solder. And the way you make this work, which is counterintuitive, is you add a bit of solder to these joints, and then you suck the solder back off. The solder will help it flow. So I guess the best way to do it is to have it on a level surface, and this box is not a very good surface to demo this thing, but and we could have some more light over here, right? But let's try it out. So now we're going to add some solder to this A connection. The wires actually come in from the top, and the solder goes in the bottom, so I really want to turn this over and unsolder the bottom of these things, which is where the solder generally goes. And I can see now that this is going to be tough to do because the boards are flopping around. So you probably want to clamp those down in a vise or something. What I should do is get some vice grips and put the board in the vice grips. These are probably not going to work too well because they can't clamp. Actually, if you had a rubber band, you could put a rubber band around here and make a very suitable clamp. So I'm just going to leave it like that and see how it goes. Actually, that works out quite well. You have to be very gentle and not knock it around. But maybe that's enough to do what we need to do. Let's see. Move that out of the way. Maybe it'll work. Let's see. I'm going to put a bit of solder on this thing to get some rosin on there. The rosin core solder is used for electronic manufacture. Solder has lead in it. This solder is from 1980, so it's probably not the best of solder. Well, we see we need a vice grips here. So I'm going to probably get vice grips and restart this video. Thanks for tagging along.